Some guys, it's like, okay, come on, let's, we can do this. That'll get them going. Other guys, no. You got to figure out what button to push.
If you treat everybody who works with you and for you like the way you would be treated, you're going to lose.
A lot of people in business, they're successful for themselves.
Yeah.
Rise and shine, it's espresso time.
I wake up every morning.
Espresso keep me going.
I wake up every morning.
Grab your coffee and sip on today's message from Kobe Bryant. Also, if you want to learn how to build more confidence, check out my 254 Confidence series. It's free. The link is in the description below.
Or to go play someplace else to try to chase a championship. That's not me, man. That's not what my career has been about. There's certain things that we want to get to, but we have to pace those out because we have to have absolute focus. Here's why practice was important to me. Not from just the standpoint that I enjoyed playing. Like, I enjoyed being there. I enjoyed getting better. But as a leader of a team, it's also your responsibility to elevate the rest of the guys. And what people tend to get stuck on a lot is saying, okay, the way to make players better is to pass them the ball when they're open. That's a very trivial way to look at things. What you have to do is you have to get them emotionally to want to be better. You have to get them to an emotional space where they wake up every morning driven to be the best version of themselves, right? And how do you do that? Right? And in practice, for me, it was a chance to drive them, to challenge them, right? And this is where you have to know your teammates, because if it's late, we just had a back-to-back and we had practice the next day and you show up and guys don't feel like going through the motions, don't feel like practicing, it's important to know each and every one of them individually, personally, because then you know what nerve to touch. Some guys, it's like, okay, come on, let's, we can do this. That'll get them going. Other guys, no. You got to figure out what button to push. Powell was always Spain. If I tell them how they lost in a gold medal to us and how they're going to lose again, how I'm going to beat your ass in practice just like I beat you in a gold medal game, he'd hate that. He'd hate that. But that's what practice was. You have to drive them. You absolutely have to. And if practice is more intense and harder than a Game 7 will be, then a Game 7 will be easy. But if it's not, then that's when teams start folding and capitulating.
You need to be people's chief goal officer. If you want to move them into action, if you want them to win, you have to speak to them in their language and the things that they care about. The worst advice you could give somebody is what you would do. If you treat everybody who works with you and for you like the way you would be treated, you're going to lose forever. You're never going to build the organization you want because people have different goals and it's your job to understand what they are. So I'm doing this tour right now, 90 days, 23 cities. I often get asked by people, hey Evan, what book should I read? What video do you recommend from your channel for an entrepreneur? I've done 6,000 videos. The worst advice I could give is to give a generic answer. The worst advice I could give is to one that I would watch. Like, here's a video that I love the most. For me to give a good answer to you, I need to know your problem. I need to be your chief goal officer. I need to understand what you're struggling with. I could give you the greatest book recommendation of all time, but if it's not the thing that you care about right now, it's not going to serve you. And so before you give advice, before you try to help somebody else out, be their chief goal officer. There's two ways to do it. Understand their who and understand their why. Their who is their most important one-word core value, and their why is their purpose, and their purpose comes from their pain. So look at their who. I'll use an example with Alex, who runs Toronto Dance Salsa for me. His who is belong. His one word is belong. He wants to create a place where people feel like they belong. It's the one word for him. It's a one word for TDS. I know that's what he really cares about. For me, belonging doesn't really matter. If I don't feel like I belong in a room, I'm not bothered by it. I don't care what other people think of me. It's so low down on my list of priorities and values of what I personally care about. But for him, it's number one. He wants to make people feel like they belong. That's his one word, most important core value. That's his who. So I understand a little bit more about him. I understand how to push him. The next is your why. Your purpose comes from your pain. For him, he struggled so much in making friends and feeling accepted. He had super sweaty hands, and when he held a girl's hand, he would slide out because he sweat so much, and it tied into him never feeling like he belonged. And so This is now his purpose for life, is to help other people feel like they belong, that there's a space for them to come to and feel like they belong. His favorite movie of all time is Hercules, the Disney movie, the cartoon, where in that song they says something about a place where you belong. And when he hears that song, he cries. Great, this is Alex, right? I might play that song for myself and think, that's a good song. I might play that song for somebody else and they hate that song. Screw Hercules, amazing. Everybody's different. You need to be their chief goal officer. So if I'm talking to Alex and trying to motivate and push him and have him build an amazing company that he's proud of, I'm gonna use words like belong. I'm gonna use movie references like Hercules. I'm gonna talk about creating a place where people can come together and feel like they're finally accepted, because that's at the core of what he's all about. That's me being his chief goal officer. And so you need to do that for everybody on your team. You need to do that for every customer that you work with. Stop treating everybody the same way. There's the classic rule of do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and that's great, and that's treating people with compassion and care and kindness. But everybody's motivated by different things. And if you can only treat people one way, the way that you would like to be treated, you're gonna only have success with a very narrow band of people. A very narrow band of customers, a very narrow band of employees, a very narrow band of partners. You're gonna stay in this tiny little lane your entire life and never build a huge company. But if you can learn to be somebody's chief goal officer, if you can learn to understand what drives them, moves them, pushes them, what their who is, what their why is, why they're here, what they're trying to accomplish, you start building an 8-lane superhighway, and you can build a company that can take over the world. Now I've got a really special bonus clip that I think you're gonna enjoy, but before that, question of the day, I wanna know who is one person in your life that you're gonna spend time this week to be their chief goal officer, to understand their who, to understand their why, and learn to push them better. Let me know in the comments below.
A lot of people in business, they're successful for themselves.
Yeah.
Okay, or the team, they put up great numbers, but the team never wins. All right. You know, in business, when the owner or the CEO, when he wins, if he's a cleaner, everybody in that business, from the top person all the way down to the last person, they all win. Oh, wow. When sports, if you bring out the best out of all your teammates. You elevate not only your teammates, you elevate the equipment manager, you elevate the equipment manager, the staff, the people you have no idea, the people that handle the tickets. Everybody's game is elevated because they have to, because the cleaner's not going to come down to your level. You got to come up to theirs.
Wow. Leadership is much less a title and much more an approach to going through life. And so when you walk out in the world every day, I just want you to keep that in mind as much as possible. You can behave like a leader, which is assuming personal responsibility for your results, or you can be like a victim, which is something bad happens or something doesn't quite work out and you give away your power and you blame and you complain and you become toxic. And right now the world has far too many victims, people who are, rather than looking in the mirror saying, I have the power to change and I might not like where I'm at in my work right now, or in my life, or in my health, or in my love, or in my spirituality, but I have the power to change. Well, victims say, I might not be where I'm at in the world, but it's because of the world. It's because of my childhood. It's because of my husband, my wife, my boss, my team, my country, my economy. And so my loving encouragement to you is ask yourself right now, am I behaving like a victim? Maybe it's in your health life. Maybe it's with your finances, and a victim would be saying, I can't do this. That's what victims do. I can't do this. Or victims, they point fingers. Well, it's the economy where I live right now, or it's the industry. It's going through a lot of commoditization and a lot of disruption. And if I was in a different industry, I'd be successful. Ultimately, we all know this. We create a reality. And even in the most difficult and most competitive of industries, there are people who are playing at world class, who are doing really well. Why? Because they have a different approach, because they are doing different things. And fundamentally, they're not behaving like victims, blaming and complaining and being toxic and wasting time and living in the past. They're showing up like leaders.
If you want another awesome video in our Black Excellence series, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.